Hi there. I hope your week served you well. I'm Amy, and this is our weekly energy reading. So, this is a collective message for anyone and everyone who listens in, and it's a general message. So, if you would like some more information, details, some more personal things that you have questions about, do feel free to contact me and we could arrange a reading. But meanwhile, this really is about the universal energies that are being offered to all of us, and it provides us with some guidance as to how we can navigate those energies throughout the week. Everything that I offer here is, if it resonates, take it. If it doesn't, leave it. Some messages resonate with some people and not others. Sometimes some aspect of the message might resonate with you, but not all of it. So, as I said, as always, take what works and leave the rest behind. I also want to say that if you do happen to come upon this message and it's not the week of the energy message, sometimes there's information that we can glean from readings that might be sort of what I call out of time. So the tarot being a universal system, it offers us wisdom that is very much timeless. And although my intention in these messages is to tap into the collective energies of this particular time that we're going through, there's also information that comes through that's sort of a more general, overall piece of information that might pertain to something else. So anyways, I just felt the urge to share that with you. And let's get started with our messages this week. So our first underlier we have is the Akashic Field. And the Akashic Field is, it's the collective wisdom that is available to all of us. That is, it's manifold. It's a huge giant library of information and data that we can tap into on a subconscious level that contains all of the teachings of our collective experience, but it also contains any information that our own individual souls have experienced throughout all the different ways that we have incarnated and taken part in this human experience. So this is a general energy that's out there for all of us. And the next card that we have is Conflict and Defeat. And I feel like this, there we go, I'm trying to keep the glare at bay. I feel like this card is kind of, self-evident where we're at this point in time. A lot of us are just feeling downtrodden. We are feeling like, oh my gosh, we've had enough of this. We want to, get on with whatever is coming next in terms of this, isolation that we're in, the social isolation and all of that. And then the next card we have for an underlier this week is the Four of Cups. And I feel like this speaks to how a lot of us are feeling sort of dazed and confused right now. We've been doing this for a while, and we have so many things, so many emotions, so many thoughts, so many feelings going in so many different directions, depending on what emotion is in the forefront for us at this time. And so let's put that one right here. And then this one I wanted to put over here. There we go. And then we have the Knight of Rods. And the Knight of Rods is the impatient energy that I think a lot of us are feeling, where we just want to get going. Knights are, notorious for charging ahead and going and taking action. They're not ones to sit around and, and want to daydream. So we're being, I feel like, the message here is, I feel like we're being called to, we're being torn, we're being pulled in all these different directions. There's so many things swirling right now. There's all of the information about the pandemic and all of the tragic stuff that we're facing each day. And then there's this, for those of us who are, in the process of, being so isolated, we are, also being bombarded with these myriad thoughts, images, and ideas and feelings that maybe are something that we haven't really delved into ever before or in a long time, being that we are spending much more time out of our normal routines. And then for those who are out there, I realize there are also people who are not um, home. There are essential workers who are out there on the front lines of this, doing their jobs, still going to work every day. And so those folks are also, being bombarded with all of this. They're tired, they're exhausted. They've been holding the lion's share of the work for so many of us for so long, and that really is bringing up a lot of stuff. Also, I feel like where this energy comes in terms of this, has to do with how, each and every one of us, whether we are consciously aware of it or not, each and every one of us chooses to come into these lifetimes and to experience various different things. And, from a human perspective, a lot of what we're experiencing is challenging and hard and difficult, and we don't like it and we don't want it, and it's unfair, and, all of that stuff. But on a soul level, it's all just experience. Because when you back up to the soul level and you start looking at things from this, the field of experience, all the potential experience that a soul can go through in this physical reality, which is really what we're talking about here, because there's so much more to it than just what's happening on earth in this physical human experience. Our souls are so much bigger than that, and if you, if that's not something that resonates for you, I kind of doubt you would be here, because, this kind of, these kind of messages really they draw people that are, interested in learning more about soul growth. So there's this conflict that goes on between us that has to do with our human desires and our human urge to get things going again, to get back to normal, all of that, and then there's also, I feel like I just got totally off track for a second there. I'm going in a couple directions here, I guess. It's because it's a little bit of a challenge sometimes to try and read for the collective, because you're getting like so many different messages coming through depending on situations. And right now there really is a huge difference between the folks who are out in the world doing the stuff that needs to be done to get us through this pandemic, and those of us who are sequestered safely in our homes. There's also, all the folks out there who they don't have homes. I ran into a very dear friend of mine who is struggling right now with a homeless issue. And, he said to me, he said, Amie, it's bad out here. It's not a pretty world for everyone. And so I feel like sometimes in my messages, I feel like I don't give enough attention to those aspects. But what I'm trying to do in these messages really is to help find that hope and that light, and to do the work that I'm here to do, which is to encourage people to be more empowered, to find ways to empower ourselves despite what's happening. And what I have learned is that when I am able to really take it from the soul perspective, to back up from my human experience, whether what I'm experiencing is really good or really bad, and to just look at it as experience, then things make more sense to me. I'm able to deal a little bit easier from my human emotional perspective with the tragedies and the injustices and the horrible, awful things that I see happening in the world around me. And so, we're all grappling with that right now. We're all grappling with how are we going to move forward from this, and how are we going to, find the security that we need, because there are also people, who are feeling really freaked out financially, and that is such a huge thing for people to go through. And so all of this is swirling around in this, in this energetic field that we're all playing in. And the point is that each and every one of us can tap into any and all of it at any time, and when there's too much of it happening all at once, we can feel overwhelmed and dazed and confused. So by deciding to, choose what it is that we're going to focus on, then it enables us to maintain some sense of balance. I also just wanted to quickly show this card, because this was a card, one of our underliers from last week. And when I was shuffling and all of that, this card sort of popped out as an extra card. And so I feel like it's important to touch on this again. And the message from this last week was that for those of us who are having this luxury of time and sequestering at home, who have a safe place, who have the time to do it, who have, the ability, that really, using the information that we have available to us to expand our thinking and to find other ways of exploring what we want to focus our energy on moving forward when all of this changes. I guess I'll just put that right there. All right, so let's get these started here. So the first card here is the waiting game. Boy, a lot of us feel like that's going on, huh? Time is ticking away, the seasons are changing, everything's going on, and here we are, sort of stuck waiting. Speaking of waiting, hold on one second. I'm going to fix that light over there so it stops glaring. I'll be right back. Okay, that's better. And the next card we have here is balance, or temperance. I'm just going to put these three up and then I'll talk about them. And the third card is mental conflict. So here we have, again, this conflict. Here we have this energy of waiting and trying to find some sort of balance between, I'm going to move these so you can see the words on there. There we go. So this idea of, we're all being forced to wait more, wait. We're still waiting. We want to move forward. We want things to change. That's this impatient energy that's coming in is causing some conflict within us. Not between us. Between ourselves and between what's going on and what we wish was going on. And so, again, we're being called to tap into that, energy that is available to us to find some sense of balance between these things, to recognize that it's natural to feel this way. We're not supposed to feel normal right now because things are not normal as we know them in any way, shape, or form. So, feeling this sort of frantic energy, this craziness, this, our emotions being all over the place, that is to be expected right now, and so make sure that you're easier on yourself than, you might be in other situations. We tend to be pretty hard on ourselves sometimes, and especially when we're feeling dysregulated. We just want to, find out ways to feel better. And so the way to do that is to, when you're feeling this, don't try to escape it. Don't just push it away, but actually go into it and let yourself, feel what you're feeling. But also recognize that this too shall pass, that this is part of this intense cleansing and awakening that we're undergoing on a huge level. There's nobody who's escaping this experience right now. We're all in this together. And no, we are not all experiencing it in the same way, but each and every one of us on this planet is experiencing it. And part of that, what's coming out of this is recognizing the diversity of, what it is that each of us does, how each of us contributes, and how each of us is, what each of us needs, and how to discover ways moving forward that are different from the ways that we did it in the past, so that when we are, all coming together, we're coming together in ways that really do allow balance for each and every one of us. Next, we've got the King of Roses. Commitment, and the War of the Roses. I just love how all of this sort of conflict energy is showing up, but really it's a lot of it, it's mental conflict and it's emotional conflict. It's not as much physical conflict, although there's certainly some of that out there. There's all these different stories and narratives that people are telling each other, themselves, trying to get the world to hear. And depending on which narrative you tune into, it can feel like, there's this crazy war going on. And so again, when we come back to the sort of central thing here, the issue, the way to find this balance, what it is that we're being called toward is committing ourselves to, really deciding what it is that you want to align yourself with. This is a contract here, okay? And I also noticed this light emanating from the lamp here, So really, you're being asked here, do you want to commit yourself to darkness, destruction, despair, worry, fear, thinking that the world is falling apart and everything's gone to shit? Or do you want to commit yourself to the light, to, okay, this is a hard time for all of us, but we are learning together how to come together and to make a commitment to each other and to commit to our lives in ways that are brighter, that are newer, that, offer something that's more loving and graceful. You see, there's all those rose petals around there. There's yellow and pink, and yellow are friendship, and pink is this tender, beautiful love, So, again, that finding that balance, deciding what side you want to be on, because we are, in this sort of energetic war right now. There are factions out there that want to perpetuate worry. They want to perpetuate fear. They want to perpetuate war, because it behooves them. And we are collectively aligning ourselves and committing ourselves to where it is we want to go. And in order to do that, we need to take a deep, long, hard look at our strengths and to really, not bow down to outer authority, to know that we have the authority to command our own emotional experience, that we're not going to allow them to dictate what it is that we choose to believe and choose to focus on and choose to manifest going forward. I've got some more cards here. We've got the Hermit. And then I found it interesting that we had two cards come out for the center card here. Actually, here, let me do this. So here's the Hermit. And we've seen this card before, okay? And, geez, no matter where I go, I've got glaring, I guess. So this card is about, again, another pretty obvious card. It's about that going within. This time, it's for many of us, it is this time of being a hermit, especially if you live alone. If you live with other people, maybe not so much. Maybe you wish you could be a hermit and you want to go in somewhere alone, lock yourself in the bathroom, the pantry, the basement, any place you can to get away from them if you have to, but do make sure you find some time to just take time alone. And for those who are essential workers who are out there working hard during this, I also encourage you to make sure that you take care of yourself. Make sure that you are taking a little bit of time each day to just go inside and charge yourself, regroup, let yourself process whatever it is that you're dealing with, and find that inner strength that that comes in that quietude. Okay, and so, excuse me. The next two cards that we have here, I found it interesting because both of these popped out together. And here we have the Knight, the Knight of Swords. Whoops, he's upside down now. There we go. So we have the Knight of Swords and we have the King of Swords. Okay. And so with these two cards, I feel like this is, again, speaking to what I was talking about earlier with the with this energy of, conflict within yourself in terms of how you want to move going forward. So the Knight of Wands is like the Knight of Swords is like this thinking, this energy. So swords are about thought, they're about energy, thinking, they're about, our thought processes more than anything else. But knights are like the idea of the Knight of Wands. Knight of Swords is that energy of, again, charging forth. Like I said about this guy here, knights are really, they're not patient energy. They're more like, let's get things done. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Okay, so there's that. And then the King of Swords is a more stable, balanced, thought out energy, mature, more of a mature thought process, and I say mature, because age doesn't always dictate our maturity. And just because we have reached a level of maturity doesn't mean that we're always thinking in that way, So this is really about that internal thought struggle, again, of like, let's just hurry up. Let's just go. Come on. I want to get back to the way things were, versus taking pause. He's sitting here on his throne and he's reflecting internally. And if you look in the background here, I want you to see that we've got Saturn here. Okay. And I don't want to get too deep into astrology right now, But I gotta tell you, Saturn is huge in what's going on right now. Okay, Saturn is our timekeeper, our taskmaster, and Saturn has been going through some interesting stuff that if you're interested, you should look into it and find out more about it. But it really is big time teaching us some incredible lessons this year, and well, longer than this year, because anyways, like I said, I don't want to get into it. But this guy here is, he's tapped into this higher wisdom, this knowledge of like his soul wisdom, as opposed to just, his ego mind thinking, okay, let's just get going. All right. So there's again that sort of pulling and push-pull energy that so many of us are feeling, where like we want things to get back to normal, and at the same time we need to know that this time is time that's valuable for us to utilize to really plan as well as we can. And the other card that we had that came up is the Nine of Pentacles. And this is, this is about abundance. This is about financial abundance, material abundance, moving forward into prosperity. So I feel like this card being over here really does also sorry, my neighbor just started bumping upstairs to some bass, and I was like, oh, hi. So this card over here is really about planning that, like putting our intention into purposefully manifesting our abundance. Okay, so I know a lot of people feel like it's out of their control to manifest the financial security that they want and need, and that they are beholden to certain systems. And while I don't want to negate that by any means, I can also say that, we do manifest our own reality. And so if we keep believing that we are not prosperous, then we will continue to be not prosperous. If we keep focused on what we don't have, we're going to get more of what we don't have, as opposed to focusing on what it is that we are calling in and having that be what we truly want. Okay, so many of you, I'm sure, have heard of the law of attraction, and I just want to read this to you here. This is the universal law of attraction defined. The law of attraction says, the essence of that which is like unto itself is drawn. I'm going to read that again. The essence of that which is like unto itself is drawn. And while this may seem like a rather simple statement, it defines the most powerful law in the universe, the law that affects all things at all times, for nothing exists that is unaffected by this powerful law. I am a magnet unto myself. Without exception, what you give thought to, wanted or unwanted, you begin to invite into your experience. See yourself as a magnet attracting unto you the essence of whatever you are thinking and feeling. For example, if you feel poor, you cannot attract prosperity because it defies law. So, I feel like what the message here is about, this idea of choosing carefully what you're focusing on right now, because it's very easy to get caught up in conflict and defeat and to think about all of the things that are going wrong. And, that is certainly, not surprising if anyone feels that way. Obviously, it's a very challenging time. But again, I'm here to give voice to what we can do moving forward to bring us to a better place, not to lament what it is that we're going through that sucks, okay? Because what I've learned, if I've learned anything in my 50, almost 5 years on this planet, is that the more I focus on being miserable, the more miserable I will be. And I think I'm almost at my limit for the video here, so I'm going to run out of time. So I'm not even going to touch on any of these other cards. I'm just going to finish up and say that this week, it's going to be a hard one energetically. There's a lot of hard energy out there. There is this conflicting energy going on. There is a lot of shit happening that can pull us down into the depths of despair if we choose to. And we may feel conflicted in thinking that if we don't go there, then we're not honoring what's happening. But by going there and using all of our energy on worrying about what we don't want and thinking about what we don't want, then we're only perpetuating more of the energy that we don't want. So if we can find ways around that, and we can find ways to really think about how we want to improve our lives and how we want to collectively come together and help each other through this in ways that are filled with light and love, which I see happening out there in such amazing, incredible, beautiful ways right now. Focusing on that as much as we can, and finding ways to take those steps forward that we can take now, and know that when all of this is over, we are